Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. We're probably going to have a couple more people be joining us as we go through this. If you don't want to have your camera on, that's okay, but please keep your microphone off unless you have a question that you want to ask at the end of the session. So, thank you again, everyone. This is Growing Your Career Pathway in Ontario's Forest Sector. We're going to be here for about an hour today on this day, March 10th. And I hope to also see all of you at our next webinar, which is going to be on March 17th. Before we get started today with all of the wonderful content that we're going to dive into, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge that the Sustainable Forestry Initiative and Project Learning Tree Canada's diverse team of staff and consultants live and work on the ancestral territories of many Indigenous nations, including from our offices on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin people in what is now Ottawa, Ontario, and of the Nacotchtank and Piscataway peoples in present-day Washington, D.C. We are committed to building forest-focused collaborations that recognize and respect Indigenous peoples' rights, all of the traditional knowledge that they hold, the relationships with the land that they have, and the enduring leadership in forest stewardship that they are so exemplary with, as well as all of our responsibilities to future generations. I myself am joining from what is now Thunder Bay, Ontario, in northwestern Ontario, home of the Ojibwe or Anishinaabe people that are part of the Robinson Superior Treaty. If you do know what territory you're joining from, please feel free to put that in the chat and share with everyone else. Today's presentation is really going to cover a few things. So first off, PLT Canada and SFI, who are we? The current job market, the places to find jobs, your potential pathways, and then the supports available through PLT Canada. So, just a little bit about us. The Sustainable Forestry Initiative's mission is to advance sustainability through forest focused collaborations, and they envision a world that values and benefits from sustainably managed forests. PLT Canada's goal is to advance environmental education, forest literacy, and career pathways using trees and forests as windows on the world. PLT Canada is an initiative of SFI, although we are a separate organization here within the country of Canada. We started in 2018 with the focus on green jobs, with federal funding to help place young professionals in green jobs across the country. And we have since evolved to encapsulate all sorts of environmental education, forest literacy, and career pathways, objectives, and opportunities. SFI itself has four pillars, and it advances that sustainability through those four pillars. With standards, it is advancing sustainability and forestry and responsible purchasing through certification standards and certified products. So what this looks like is standards to which organizations can become certified to through third parties to show consumers that they are doing things the right way. Next is conservation, and this is advancing credible and effective solutions to climate change challenges through the SFI standards and leadership initiatives. Next is community. So this is advancing collaboration between local communities, the SFI network, and beyond to increase a mutual understanding of the values and benefits provided by the sustainably managed forests. And finally, education, which is where my expertise is with our organization. And this is, like I said, advancing education, forest literacy, and career pathways. So how do we do all of this as PLT Canada? We do it through education, forest literacy, and career pathways. And today we're going to be really focusing on that career pathways aspect. So this is programming to support building career pathways that expose young people like yourselves to the diversity of careers in the forest and conservation sector. Our educational resources are for professional development for educators and youth leaders that help teach young people how to think about some of our complex challenges using trees and forests as windows on the world. But we're a little past that, as most of you are young professionals, either currently in high school or university or just finishing university and looking to start your careers. So we also have forest literacy tools. So these are resources that teach important concepts around forest and sustainability. And these are really woven throughout both of our educational programs and career pathway programs. I'm going to quickly transition you here to a nice little word cloud. So I would love to hear from all of you about what the word forestry means. And it could be in the greater context of forestry in the world or just locally to you. What does forestry mean to you? And the ability to log in should be there on the side of your screen. If you're having any issues whatsoever with joining the Menti, please put it in the chat so that we can get you some assistance. And I'm just going to leave this on screen for a while as I wait for people to start answering. I'm loving all of these answers coming in here, and you can provide as many answers as you would like. You don't have to just put one, it could mean anything at all so far. And if you see one that you really enjoy on the screen already, feel free to put that in as your answer as well, and it'll get larger on the screen to showcase that we really like that one. Amazing. If you want to keep putting anything in there, please go ahead and do that. I am going to move on to the next slide now. So I know what forestry means to you, and we did ask a question in the registration. So I'm going to move on now to the current job market. So these are kind of what jobs are going to be available to you as, newcomers to the sector or experienced people in the sector. So we've got places like woodlands, and this is going to include your silviculture, forestry, your timber cruising, your renewal, everything to do with the planning and operation of forestry. And I know I have operations there, but that's a little bit different, and we'll get into that after. But woodlands is really kind of your boots on the ground, traditional forestry jobs that you would recognize at a glance. So, someone walking through the forest, writing down data, taking action on what kind of vegetation are in the area, marking trees, measuring trees, and then planning out what operations are going to happen and how you're going to renew that stand of trees after it's been harvested. Next, we have operations. So these are the folks that are out in the forest, cutting the trees, building the roads, clearing the snow, all those essential jobs that actually make sure that everything gets done when it's supposed to. So these could be your truck drivers, they could be your skidder operators, or it could be the mechanic at the job site that's ensuring that all of your equipment is working and you are following all of the health and safety standards to make sure that everyone is safe as well. Next, we have miller operations, and I know that might sound a little bit straightforward, but this is everything that's going to be happening at a mill site, whether that's a pulp mill, a wood mill, or a value-added product mill, so plywood or anything beyond that. So engineered timbers, there biochar, there are so many, and that could include just a person working on the production line, someone driving a front end loader to load chips, anything really. Next is administration, and these are super important jobs as well that often get overlooked. But administration jobs, are anything from working in an office to help plan where operations are going to be taking place at a certain time. It could just be answering the phone, or it could be part of the accounting team that ensures that everything is going smoothly and you're making the money that you need to make so that you can pay back those stumpage fees that you owe to the government. We also have urban forestry. So this is your arborist, your urban forester, your horticulturalists that are working in your cities to make those green spaces beautiful. Conservation work as well is super important in the forestry and conservation sector. So this could be your wildlife biologists, your water management specialists, your hydrologists, everything like that are also part of the, forest and conservation sector, and they are so vital to the forestry sector. And then, of course, research and planning. So this could include anyone from a university professor to a government scientist that are undertaking all of this research to ensure that we are taking into account all of the best management practices at the time. So I want to go to another word cloud here, and I apologize for my little spelling mistake here. So write as many job titles as you know or different positions available. There should be an LE on the end there. I might have actually run out of characters that I'm allowed to put on the Menti question here. So just as many job titles that you know of or different positions that you've either had or might have applied to in the past as well. Silviculture technician, and just keep putting those answers in there because we know there are so many jobs available. And I'm going to pop a couple in the chat here as well. Millwright. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that's your operations, your mill operations, super important jobs. See, only two of six have responded though, so come on, people. Let's put some more jobs in there. Putting another couple in the chat here. Planning Forester. Awesome. Thank you so much to all of you who responded and put some answers in the chat. Tree tagger for provincial parks. Awesome. Yeah, there are so many jobs, and they're not all necessarily where you would exactly expect those jobs to be either. Being part of a green job in the green sector could mean so many things. So it could be part of the accounting team. On our call today is Mira Williamson, and she's part of our communications team. But all of the work that she does goes towards promoting a sustainable future and is therefore a green job. Uh, Anyone from photography to like you, all of these boots on the ground, arborist, planning forester, these all count as green jobs. Videographers, really anyone that is working towards a sustainable future is considered part of the green sector. So with that green sector in mind, I would like to talk a little bit about kind of where the sector is moving. You saw a lot of those jobs there, and we're going to talk a little bit more about kind of the future of jobs in Ontario and beyond. And so a few of these pictures here might be a little far-fetched. We're probably not going to see a heads-up display of exactly the outline of a tree and the carbon within, or having robots planting trees that are humanoid in shape. But AI is making its way into the realm of forestry and the environment. The picture in the top corner there is LiDAR data that shows the tree canopy as well as those phone lines so that we can get an accurate representation of what's in our forests. So the sector is really moving in a really cool direction as technology gets more and more advanced, and as we find new ways to implement that technology, there's going to be a lot of new and exciting jobs that are going to be coming available. That doesn't necessarily mean that current jobs are going to become obsolete in any form, but as drone pilots become more common and things become cheaper to implement, we're going to see a lot more on the data side of things than we even currently are. So there are autonomous robots that help plant trees. You can drive a tractor down a road autonomously and it can plant trees in a field on its own. Like I said, we don't have this heads up display, but we do have really cool software that you can use in the moment to determine different things in the forest. So I have one more question for you here, just about AI. Where would you like to see AI go in forestry? So, would you like to see some more AI integration, kind of a total AI integration into forestry, or really only the necessary AI integration? So it's looking like only necessary AI integration is the clear winner here, and I can appreciate that. I am not one for using a ton of AI. It does have wonderful use within the forest and conservation sector. I have personally been able to use AI for writing code for R, so you can ask, Chat GPT or other software to write you code that, of course, then needs to be double, triple checked to make sure it works properly. But it can save a lot of time instead of you laboriously trying out all these different ways of writing code for R. Um, some of the other really cool integrations of AI are with things like disease and insect outbreaks. So you have, for example, crown level localization that uses kind of it's what's called YOLO, which is you only look once. So this is specially designed programming to only need a single passover flight to detect what's needed. So you have this AI program that is trained to detect these very specific changes in the forest so that they can go over, they can get that information immediately with only one pass and then come back. Of course, this all does need to still be checked by a human or further checked by software, but it is really cool application of AI technology. You can also use UAV, that's unmanned aerial vehicles, multispectral and thermal imaging, as well as what's called thermosliptic entrainment. And that's a really big word, but in the context of unmanned aerial vehicles, it refers to specialized bio-inspired techniques where swarms of drones detect and utilize the atmospheric thermals like a bird does. So those vertical updrafts of warm air to gain altitude and extend their flight times. So it mirrors the behavior of soaring hawks, and this method helps overcome energy limitations that are typical of drone swarms, allowing them to entrain or ride these thermal currents to reduce battery consumption. And then another super, super cool one is Sentinel-2. And this is satellite imagery that takes reflectance anomalies. So it takes the reflectance off of the Earth's surface, where green has different reflectance than the orange or yellows. And it can be part of the early detection for bark beetle infestations. One of the really cool applications of satellite imagery as well is, especially in Ontario, is heat signature mapping. So I will say from personal experience, the Ontario government has the ability to monitor from space where there are significant hotspots occurring. And through this technology, they can find where forest fires are starting as soon as they start, essentially. So if you light up a really big bonfire in your field and it produces a lot of heat all at once, the Ministry of Natural Resources will know that you've done that, and they can send out crews on the ground or in the air to check out whether this is actually a forest fire and whether they need to respond to this with any sort of firefighting force, which is a really cool thing that I only learned about last summer. I talked about a little bit a couple slides ago about LiDAR, and LiDAR is becoming more and more frequent in its use across the forest sector. So we have several types of LiDAR, being aerial LiDAR, where you fly over an area and the lasers go down into the, forest and ping off of all those different levels, whether it's the crown, the lower branches, or the ground, and you can get amazing images of what exactly is in that forest. Or a picture like this, which is from a ground-based LiDAR. So you have the laser pointing into the forest from the ground, and it does the same thing, where all of those little pings showcase where the stems of your trees are and where the foliage is so that you can get an immediate picture. I say immediate, but it's going to take a lot of data parsing by all of those wonderful people in the data labs to get a picture like this that shows you exactly how large your stems are and what kind of composition you have in the forest. And a really cool one, it's not quite that heads up display that you saw on the previous slide, but the Seek and iNaturalist apps use AI to determine what you're looking at the time. So if you pull up the Seek app, and we are not sponsored by them in any way, they are actually affiliated with the Canadian Wildlife Federation here in Canada. But I use this constantly whenever I'm out in the forest or walking around. If I see a plant I'm not quite sure of, or an animal, or an insect, or anything. So you can take a photo and it almost instantly tells you what that animal is based on an AI algorithm that matches that photo within their database. So you can use this to on the go identify species, whether that's doing ground vegetation surveys or just for the purposes of wanting to know more about the species in your area. So I'd like everyone to take another moment here and share your favorite, piece of technology or technological advancement in forestry that you know of. Drones. I personally have a small drone. It is under 250 grams, so I'm allowed to fly it, uh, you know, on my own property within line of sight. But unfortunately, I don't have my own license. but it is something that is really cool to have and can get you a lot of opportunities in this sector. Anyone else? Your favorite piece of forestry technology? GIS. GIS is a wonderful tech. Wasn't my favorite class, but that might have just been my professor. But GIS is incredible and has so many applications across so many different sectors as well, whether it's forestry or, waterways, anything like that. GIS is wonderful for its mapping applications. eBird, I've never personally used eBird, but I have heard it is really cool. Anything else before I move on? All right. Thank you, everyone. So next, I'm going to talk just a little bit about the education pathways that are available. So this is going towards the pathways that are available for you within the sector. So on your screen here, you have Lakehead University, Fleming College, Sault College, the University of Toronto, College Boreal, and Algonquin College. And these are just some of the institutions that offer programs here in Ontario if you're looking to either expand your educational background or pursue new or upcoming education. So there's so many available options for education and training. So you can take forest technologist programs, Bachelor of Science in Forestry programs. There's master's programs available. I didn't properly introduce myself at the beginning of this, but I am a forester by trade. I went to Lakehead University for my undergrad and master's degree, and I'm a registered professional forester here in the province of Ontario. There's also arboriculture programs and apprenticeships that you can do at both Fleming and Humber. And I believe one other program here in Ontario is also now offering arboriculture. And then there's also environmental management programs. And that doesn't include the wide suite of all sorts of other programs that aren't directly related to forestry, but are indirectly related. So sustainability degrees, environmental law degrees, anything that you can think of that might have some application to forestry and conservation, there are numerous programs available. And there's also lots of training programs that you can attend that are sometimes very low cost or free. And then unfortunately, sometimes they do have a larger cost associated with them. So, chainsaw training, tree marking programs. You can get your scaler's license so that you can, wood measurement at the lot to determine if the wood is good, how much it's worth. There are so many programs and training options available, including, your truck driving license, your skidder operation, your feller operation, anything like that. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out and we can help you explore some of those options as well. So this is a big question, but I want to, you know, put it out there for all of you because there is no wrong answer here. How do you feel about your next steps in the forest and conservation sector? Do you know exactly what your steps are? You're not quite sure what your steps are, or you have no idea what your next steps are? And like I said, none of these is a wrong answer. If you have no idea, that's perfectly okay. If you're not quite sure, but you have some idea, that's awesome. And you should be really proud of yourself. And if you know exactly what your steps are, that is amazing. And I am blown away that you know exactly what your steps are because even now, I don't know what my next steps are fully in this sector. So congratulations to you. That is amazing for your future to know exactly what you want. So I'm going to move on now to the places that you can find jobs. And this is kind of a double-sided places you can find jobs. First, I'm going to be talking about some of the websites and options available for actually finding the jobs that you want. I personally use LinkedIn a lot, both for professional networking and seeing what jobs are out there so that I can repost those for all of the youth that we work with. It is wonderful. Companies post directly on there, and generally LinkedIn can is very trustworthy for whether those jobs are real or not. Indeed is going to be an overwhelming number of jobs that are available that is a great first step in finding a job. If you see a job posting on Indeed, that's awesome. What I'm going to ask that you do is double or triple check that that job is in fact or is indeed a real job. So what you can do is if you see a job on there, what you'll do next is go online to just, Google or your preferred browser and look up the company that is advertising that job. So if you see a job from Domtar or Algonquin Forest Authority on Indeed, go to their actual website after you've seen it and make sure that that job is actually being offered. Like I said, it's a great first step, but sometimes Indeed is full of fake job ads or scammers. So it's a great place to find a plethora of jobs that might be available, but do your due diligence and look on the official websites to make sure that those jobs are in fact real. Next is going to be the OPS Careers website. So this is the Ontario Job Database. And what you're going to find available on this is all of the jobs across all of Ontario in all of the different sectors. So these are all of the Ontario Public Service careers. So this includes anything from working at, a long-term care facility that's run by the province to working in a provincial park. But the wonderful thing about this site is that you can filter your search down. So you can choose specific regions within Ontario. You can choose specific cities within Ontario to narrow that job search. And then you can also choose which sectors that you want to look in for those jobs. So whether it's law or environmental or forestry, you can narrow that search that way. And then you can also filter out the different levels of jobs available, whether it's entry level, student, mid level, or, senior level positions. And then, of course, the government of Canada also has a job board available that you can go look at on their website, and it has lots of amazing jobs as well. Through LinkedIn, the Canadian Institute of Forestry also reposts a lot of job offers, not only in Ontario, but across all of Canada. So I know many of you are probably situated in Ontario currently, looking for jobs, finishing school. If you're open to leaving the province, you can, look for jobs on LinkedIn through the Canadian Institute of Forestry. We also on PLT Canada post a lot of jobs that are available within Ontario and abroad. Obviously, we would love it if you stayed in Ontario because that's beneficial to the growth of our economy and our forest sector. But we don't begrudge you wanting to explore other places either. So this is another word cloud here, and I would just love to hear where are you? We talked about places you can find jobs. But now I want to hear about where you are so I can talk about the geographic places that you can find jobs. So I am located up in Thunder Bay, kind of at the westernmost point of Lake Superior there. Toronto, awesome. Guelph, Anyone else? Anyone from anywhere different? That's okay. The wonderful thing is that these jobs in the forest and conservation sector are available on this entire map. The entirety of Ontario has jobs available at some point or another in the forest and conservation sector. If you're in downtown Toronto, there's going to be jobs in forestry and conservation. It might not look the same as a job up in Kapuskasing or Timmins or Dryden, but there are jobs available. You can work for the Toronto Region Conservation Authority, the City of Toronto. There are nonprofit groups that work within the city. There are arboriculture jobs across all of Southern Ontario. There are also lots of private forestry organizations that operate in the south of Ontario on private woodlots. Up north, you're going to see a lot more of that traditional forestry. So as soon as you get to, Algonquin, Sault Ste. Marie, Marathon, Thunder Bay, there's a lot more of that in the forest, boots on the ground, walking through trees forestry. But anywhere at all in Ontario, there are jobs available in the sector. And that's what's so amazing about this province. No matter where you go, there are forests. Um, there's this map I love looking at, and it's the map of forests across Canada. And I laugh every single time I look at it because there's this massive chunk in the south of Saskatchewan, and Alberta that just does not have any data whatsoever for forests. Um, and it's because obviously there's a lot of farmland there, and there are of course trees and some forests, but they don't record any data in there, and it always makes me laugh a little when I look at that map. And it also makes me so grateful of where I live because the entirety of Ontario has data collected from the forests that are here. And it's so amazing to live in a province that is doing great things with forestry and has so many jobs available in the sector. So there are jobs no matter where you go in this province that will help you along your career path. It's just a matter of finding what works for you and where works for you to have those jobs. I'm going to talk a little bit about going to the next level now. And this isn't necessarily something that's required of anyone in the sector. Ontario doesn't regulate forestry in the same way as some of the other provinces. So if you want to be a forest technician for your entire career, you don't necessarily have to take it to that next level and become part of an organization. But I would encourage you to pursue kind of those official certifications if you can. So, for example, there's the Ontario Professional Foresters Association, and this is the regulatory body that monitors all professional foresters within Ontario. I am a registered professional forester. I have an ID number that lets people know that I am part of this organization. And being part of this organization also means that I am held to a certain standard and a certain level of ethical responsibility. And if I want to call myself a registered professional forester, I have to be part of this as well. There's also the International Society of Arboriculture, specifically for us, the Ontario branch of that, the Ontario section. But the ISA is a group of arborists and urban forest professionals across the globe that all work together towards bettering the practices of arboriculture. I am also a registered arborist, a certified arborist here in Canada, according to the ISA. I did most of my work during university as an arborist and have that certification, and it is really awesome to have that. It sets you apart from all of those other tree workers that aren't certified and showcases that you know exactly what you're doing and you have the credentials to back it up. In addition to those, which are more directly related to forestry, there's also the College of Applied Biologists, and this is the professional association that provides you with the registered professional biologist accreditation. So you can start that after graduation, and you'd become an associate applied biologist, and then you'd become a registered professional biologist afterwards. I should mention also that being part of the Ontario Professional Foresters Association comes with an 18-month mentorship program that you have to complete. So, to become a registered professional forester here in Ontario, you need to graduate from either an accredited program, such as Lakehead University, Forestry, or the University of Toronto Master's Program. And then you can sign up with the OPFA and say, hey, I'd like to become a registered professional forester. What should I do? They can give you all of the information you need to move forward. You'll have to find a mentor that can help you for the next 18 months. It doesn't have to be someone you directly work with, but it does have to be an active registered professional forester. After the 18 months, you're going to fill out some more paperwork. And after you've had all of that wonderful work experience, you'll become a full member of the OPFA. In the meantime, you can also become an associate member. And the same is for the College of Applied Biologists. So there are so many options for you to take with this career path. So here in Ontario, the main thing that an professional forester can do is sign off on management plans. So if you're working for the Ministry of Ontario, Domtar, Interfor, any other number of small organizations like Mitigug Misan in Kenora, when a forest management plan comes up for renewal, it needs a registered professional forester's stamp of approval to actually go forward. And if it doesn't, then it is not admissible as being a true management plan. An ISA certified arborist has certain credentials that allow them to get more jobs, and it showcases to the general public that they know what they're doing. So these are really important credentials to showcase to the world abroad that forest professionals know what they're doing. They have to adhere to these ethics. They need proper schooling. And it really goes to show that it is not just a bunch of people out in the forest cutting down as many trees as they possibly can, because that is not what forestry is here in Ontario or the rest of Canada either. But it helps to change the public perception of who we are by showcasing that we are professionals at what we do. To finish off today, I am going to talk about how PLT Canada can help you along your career pathways journey. So we have three main programs that we run as part of our career pathways team. We have our Green Jobs program, which has helped place young adults in over 8,700 green jobs since 2018. 50% plus have been women year after year, and at least 15% have been Indigenous youth year after year since our inception in 2018. And this is thanks to over 470 plus employers across Canada. We also have specific funding that we get here in Ontario, or at least we got last year, and we are hoping to receive again this year. And that was through the Skills Development Fund. So part of what is paying for this webinar today is funding from the Ontario government. And we are able to help place youth in Ontario jobs and provide training opportunities for people in Ontario so that they can become more prepared for jobs in the future as well. Next, we have our Green Mentor program. So this started in Canada in 2018 and has since moved to a binational, so Canada and the US. But we've been able to have over 820 mentorship participants in 15 different cohorts. Our next program is going to be opening up in April, and I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. And then finally, our youth delegate program. So since 2023, PLT Canada and SFI have supported over 125 youth delegates ages 18 to 30 attend our annual conference to advance their career goals. And what this looks like is we bring anywhere from kind of 30 to 45 young people from across Canada and the US to SFI's annual conference. We give them a crash course on day one about how to be at a conference, networking tips and tricks, and how to really show up at a conference and make the most of it. And then we release you into the conference to enjoy the sessions, meet people, and really make the most of being at a massive conference with the foremost minds in forestry and conservation. So it's an all expenses paid trip to wherever our conference is to help you advance your career journey. Applications for that open up usually in the late summer, early fall, and the conference is in the spring every year. So, unfortunately, applications are closed for this year, but we will be accepting applications for next year's conference, 2027, which is going to be an absolutely wonderful time. Just a little bit more about mentorship here. Like I said, 820 mentorship participants. Most popular skills gained or improved from being part of this are confidence and career planning. If you are feeling like you need a mentor to help guide you through your journey, this is an excellent opportunity. It's a 3-month program that is mentee led. So we match you with a mentor that's active and already well involved in the forest or conservation sector. We take your application and we match you with someone who either works in a job that's similar to what you're looking for or something that you might find interesting. And that's to help you make the most of what you want to learn. You can meet as often as you want or as often as your mentor is able to. And it's really just an opportunity to explore the sector, have some informational interviews to learn more about what kind of skills are needed in certain jobs, and get a step forward above the rest of those who are applying. Get some resume tips, get some interview tips, anything that you can think of, we can help you with through this mentorship process. Kiana Bear Hetherington was a wonderful mentee who then actually went on to be part of our youth delegate program. So being part of our mentorship program also helps you when it comes time for applications to the youth delegate program as well. So we want to offer those wonderful services to help you succeed in your green careers as much as possible. That's all I have for today. I do want to open it up to some questions after this. If you scan the QR code, you can stay up to date on all things career pathways, and learn more about all of the webinars, view past webinars that we've done, and know when all of those applications are opening up, as well as the newest information about funding for green jobs. And I'm just going to check the chat here because we had a couple questions from Nyoki. Am I saying that right? Njoki? Would you recommend any GIS specific certifications that would mesh well with forestry? Also curious as to whether you have seen QGIS used instead of the Esri products. Thank you, Njoki. My apologies for the first attempt there. GIS specific certifications, there are several that are available. You can take courses anywhere from kind of 4 months in length, 2 months in length, all the way up to, full 2 semester programs. There's things available online that you can take for free often. Um, Most of those GIS specific certifications are going to mesh well with forestry. Um, None of them are going to be bad for applications in forestry. As for QGIS, I personally use QGIS in my life. I'm a managed forest plan approver as well. So in my spare time or lack thereof, I also write management plans for private landowners here in Northern Ontario. Esri-based products like ArcGIS are extremely expensive, and QGIS is fully free. It's a bit of a learning curve to move from Arc to Q, but they have essentially the same applications in the end. And yes, that is the Managed Forest Tax Incentive program. So it's a wonderful opportunity to get into consulting. All it really requires is a background in forestry. So if you went to school for forestry, you can showcase to them that you are competent. You will study for an exam, and then you can write that test and become a managed forest plan approver. So it is different from being an RPF in that you can only write plans for private landowners to get that tax incentive benefit. But if you do have your RPF, it means you can also then include in your plans harvest operations and things like that. So on its own, it's wonderful. It's a great business that you can have on the side. I would also suggest if you're looking to get into the consulting side of forestry, take that tree marker course, especially if you're in kind of South or Central Ontario. That is where a lot of jobs are going to be. It can be a little bit expensive up front, but it's going to really boost your opportunities to work with consulting organizations if you have the skills such as tree marking and identification. Um, there's also the butternut canker certification that you can take, and I'm sorry, I'm not 100% sure on the exact name of it right now, but it's to do with butternut and the diseases. So you can go out and you can check out all of that, uh, and that's going to give you an edge as well. An official certification for ID, I'm not sure off the top of my head, but if you send me an email, Njoki, I can look into that for you and let you know. Thanks, Mira. Are there any other questions? Happy to stay on for another few minutes and help you figure out anything that you need to as it pertains to forestry and conservation. No problem. Thank you as well. Really happy to have all of you here today and looking forward to hearing more about your careers if you have any questions at all.
Thanks, James. Good webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. You have a wonderful day.